And we're live without Kate. It is Saturday. What's the date? May 29th, 2021, 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:01 p.m. Iceland time, where Kate is stranded, 4:01 p.m. Central Time, where I am in a gorgeous spring Minneapolis day of the sort that must make all of you wet East Coasters jealous. I promised to present to you a stolen baby, which I made a fair effort at, but the stolen baby was cranky just before showtime, so has been returned to his parents. He may make an appearance later on in the show.
I don't know. Ben, I'm a bit old-fashioned, and I feel like when you promise to steal a baby, you should steal the baby.
I did steal the baby, but the question was whether you wanted a screaming stolen baby on the show, or whether you just
heavens no.
Yeah,
heavens
or whether
no.
you just wanted to take my word for it that I'd stolen a baby today.
Okay.
Kate attempted to board a flight to return home today from Iceland. However, it turns out in Reykjavik, and for those of you who are planning a flight from Reykjavik back to New York, this is good to know. You need a PCR test within 72 hours of getting on a plane in Reykjavik, and Kate and John had not done their PCR test, and so they were turned away. They are now stranded in Iceland, so Kate just texted a few minutes ago saying she was having connectivity issues. We will add her to the show as soon as her connectivity issues while stranded in Iceland are resolved. Until then, I just want to say the only one of us who has had who has not had a problem today, either by getting stranded in Iceland or by having our stolen babies confiscated, is Scott. So, Scott, how did you escape such difficulties today?
I took a really long nap.
Yeah, it's
so that was I went like from 9:30 to like almost 12, and so
you just didn't have much time to get into
right
trouble.
Exactly. So that like cut out a good 2.5 hours where I could have gotten into trouble.
Right. Did you steal any babies?
No, I did not steal any babies because, like I said, I was napping a good portion of the time. That's the thing is like, nobody tells you that when you have kids, they tell you things like you're going to be up at night, and they tell you things like you're going to be miserable doing this and that, but nobody tells you that you kind of can't take a nap anymore. Like if you're not perfectly phased with your kid, but now that my kids are older, I've reinstituted the nap.
Yeah, I have tended to be very into napping as well, particularly during COVID.
Yeah, right. I mean, because what else was there?
And you're not it's not like you're at the office, so where napping is sort of disapproved of.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I never nap at the office. Not that, and I'm not against it.
Do others at the Yale Law School take naps? Is that a thing at the Yale? Because at Brookings, I don't know. There's a particular nap culture.
I don't know, but I expect the New York Times to have a profile on it soon.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know. My strong guess is that there's a whole range of behaviors.
Because I would think one of the things about the nap culture is that it's at type A places like the Yale Law School, is that it's going to be more of a covert nap culture.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The nap culture is probably larger than the than the out nap culture.
Yeah, no, that's why Ben, I'm so glad to be on the show to raise awareness for for napping. I feel like it's been stigmatized unnecessarily in our always on 24/7 go go
That's
go.
right.
And I want to say that if you have tenure, take a nap.
Take a nap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I say.
in the in the Z Franks video, True Facts About the Sloth, he ends it by saying, "So if you're having a hard day, consider the sloth. He doesn't do shit, and he hasn't gone extinct. I'm sure you can manage to take a nap." And I think
That's
that's wise words from Z
so,
Frank.
so wise.
Yeah, because
I have to check it out. But
yeah,
you
true
just you
facts
st-
about the
you,
sloth.
but you strike me as like a high energy person, and so like I find it hard to believe that you're not like on some other project, and therefore not napping.
So first of all, I nap a lot when I read. I find I read better if I you know so if you're reading something, this is particularly true in the afternoon, it's not so true in the morning. If I'm reading something in the afternoon, I am going to be fighting the urge to nod off. Right?
It's
Like,
really true.
it's just
It's real.
true. You're going to be fighting
Yeah.
the urge to nod off. It is far better to let yourself close your eyes for 10 minutes and then wake up and be fresh and actually read and absorb what you're reading than be fighting it for an hour. You're not actually absorbing anything. You feel like you've read 15 pages, but you actually haven't. And so
So, yeah, yeah,
just
I hear.
accept it,
No, I hear that. It's great because like you do get to nap, but you also believe you had a great reading experience. So
That's right.
it's like a perfect it's a perfect thing. Although I would just say, and I want to just because maybe this is too much personal information to be talking about in public, but my big fear in life, I have a couple of fears, and one of my fears is that I will like take a nap at let's say 1 in the afternoon, and I'll wake up at 8:30 at night, and it'll be pitch dark, and then I won't be able to fall asleep at night.
That's
Like
one of your
this is
big fears in life.
yeah yeah. That actually, if you need to kick me off,
No,
I get it.
because I was just going to say if that's like the worst thing you're afraid, like I'm afraid of violent death and being
No
tortured
no
and stuff. And
no not
I'm
me.
afraid of the decline of American democracy. And
No.
but like I could totally live with falling asleep at 1:30 and waking up and it's dark and then not being able to go to sleep that night.
I think you're bragging because I feel like when you wake up, it's 8:30 and it's really dark, and you're not going to be able to fall asleep that night till like 3, 4 in the morning, and then you can be tired the next day. Look,
Yeah, I mean
I don't want to send this in a very bad direction.
that's fine. What are your other big fears?
I hate when my socks get wet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say you're like walking with your socks and like in the
Like
kitchen, and there's
looking
like
for mushrooms, morels,
no,
and
not
you
looking,
go.
not, no, not that. No, you're like, you're walking around with your socks, and then you go to the kitchen, and like somebody dropped an ice cube, and you step, you know what I mean? You step in a puddle of water, and now your sock is wet, and it's asymmetrically wet too, because the other one's not wet. That's another big fear of
That's
mine.
another big fear. Yeah, that's a scary one. That and clowns.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the clowns too. Yeah.
I mean, I have this other fear that has never gone away. I've had since I was a teenager of having to take a final in a class that I've
Oh
never
yeah.
taken. That's
Oh
a
yeah.
recurrent, and I don't
I,
know. I don't know why that one still bothers me, but I still don't. I still feel uncomfortable even just thinking about it.
Okay, yeah. So can I say something? I know we have we have a really big audience. So I want to say this, Mrs. Sharabi. You were my 10th and 11th grade digduk, which is Hebrew grammar teacher. You are in my dreams, torturing me for decades. I just want you to know that. So, because that's my thing. Like, my thing is digduk. There's going to be Mrs. Sharabi calls a pop quiz, or I wasn't there for the entire year or something.
Yeah, no. I think there's something about that. So, like, I literally have not taken a test of any kind except, I suppose, like an eye exam or, like not even a driver's test, right? Like, since college, there's been more of my life by a lot in which I have never been asked it. I never went to graduate school. I'm not in a position where I get graded or take tests, and haven't been for 30 years.
Right.
And yet the fear does not go away.
Yeah. And no, that's right. And is it fixated on high school?
It's not that specific. It's it may be fixated on high school or college, but it's like some authority figure expects me to take the test, and for some reason I'm not able to say, I'm sorry, I'm not a student anymore. I don't accept your authority to assign me this work. It's like you describe in the jurisprudence course podcast, the source of authority. There's this chicken and egg thing, and I don't ever get to disaggregate it and say, wait a minute, who gave you the authority to assign me work?
Right. You're like Joseph K. Is it Joseph K. from the
from the trial?
From the trial.
And I do have this bewilderment as to why this still scares me. Why it's not just fear. It conjures a kind of rage, like an anger that, wait, I have to take this exam and I'm not ready. And I never took the class that it was associated with. And sometimes I'm not wearing any clothes. And I'm naked, right? And I don't know any, linear algebra and multivariate calculus. And maybe my pencil isn't even sharpened, right? It has these levels of, and they're all fears that I haven't actually experienced in life in 30 years, but it's still a source of anxiety and dreams.
You know what? Why don't we have like a dream specialist, not like a.
Or we could just bring in members of the audience to talk about their anxiety dreams.
Oh my God! Anxiety Dream Day. I love that.
Let's make today's show Anxiety Dream Day.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Guys,
but that's fantastic. I just say one thing, but don't we have to plan the week?
Well, so we do, but I have.
I would rather hear people's anxiety dreams. I have some interesting
news in that regard. So we have some events already planned, I think, and we have a bunch of people who. So we haven't written them down on the calendar, but I am pretty sure that we have several people from last week who, like Charlie Sykes, for example, who I just haven't put them on the calendar, but the show is planned with respect to them. So why don't we say this? We need to plan tomorrow, which is Mystery Guest Day. Are you bringing a mystery guest tomorrow, or is Kate? Because I know I did last week.
Right. I think that if we were doing it, I think I would. I haven't planned it. I would say. But,
okay. Are you cool to bring a mystery guest tomorrow?
I'm reporting for duty.
All right. So you will bring a mystery guest tomorrow. I believe Charlie Sykes is coming Wednesday, but I will check that. I have also asked a couple of other people who who have agreed, and we have agreed to set up a day for this week. So let me get those on the calendar over the next 24 hours. And I think we actually don't have that much planning to do. For people who have been asking about Massimo Pugliosi, is that he has agreed to come on, but in a couple of weeks when he's got some stuff going on now, but he has agreed to come on.
July 6th.
July 6th. So that is happening, and we are working on a few others as well. So by tomorrow, I will get all of those on the calendar. I've also asked Derek Black, who is a friend of Ada Palmer's and with whom I had dinner the other night, by the way, in Chicago, and of Kathleen Ballou, and is a graduate student at the University of Chicago and the son of a very infamous white supremacist who has broken with his family tradition and is a super interesting young scholar and interesting guy.
That sounds great.
So I'm working on scheduling that. Got some other things in the works. So I think we can just, if you're cool to do a mystery guest tomorrow, I think we can just devote today to anxiety dreams.
Fantastic. Okay. So make sure that they really make you anxious. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, we trust you.
So here is everybody's assignment. If you are willing to talk about your anxiety dreams, put a note in the ask a question box, because I don't want to bring people on and put them on the spot and make people talk about anxiety dreams who are not willing to talk about it. But if you are willing, and what I will do is I will just bring in people who are in the Q&A, for example, David Botts, and if you're in the queue, you may come on and talk about anxiety dreams if that's what you've flagged, or you may come on and have a question on something else. Mr. Botts, how are you?
I am super duper. Greetings. So should I start with my question or should I start with my anxiety?
I think we should get anxiety out of the way first, because it's much easier to have substantive discussions of your questions if you're not too anxious to do it.
Yeah, that's really true. So one of my anxiety dreams is I'm in an airport and I have to catch a plane. I cannot find the gate, and I walk all around, and I walk and I walk and I walk and I walk, and I cannot find my departure gate, and I'm freaking out because I got to get on a plane.
Have you ever missed a flight?
I don't think that I have.
So I used to have anxiety about missing flights, and then I missed one. And the consequences for missing a flight are zero. You get on you get on the next flight, and I have never been able to muster. Now I show up at the airport like 5 minutes before a plane lands. I consider it a total win if I'm the last person to get on the flight. Like, they're closing the door in back of me, and I slip in while they're closing the gate. Like, this is the ultimate thing people get anxious about for, like, literally no reason. There's another flight 2 hours later.
Yeah,
but
that's a really good. That's a great. That has exactly the structure of the anxiety dream.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's an interesting question. What is the formal structure? It's something that we get stressed out about that involves some measure of performance, the result of which is not wholly under our control, right? I never get anxious about like doing taekwondo, which is totally under my control. It's some variable. There has to be some variable that you can't do. Like, even if you try your hardest, do your best, work really hard, it's still not going to work because the plane is too far away or because the flight attendant lied to you about what gate it is.
Yeah, so here's the question I would ask to Dave, which is that for me, the essence of the anxiety dream is the fact that actually it is somewhat under my control and I was negligent. So like I didn't really study for Mrs. Sharabi's test. And I should have, and kind of like, it's not totally my fault because like, why am I in high school when I'm actually, grown up? But so the question is there a sense that you should have like written down carefully, like your gate is, or is it just like the world is effing with you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I've thought a little bit about your question, Ben, about have I ever missed a flight? I've missed connections, right? When one flight for whatever reason is late, and then if you got a connection and you can't make the next connection, and sometimes it's a hassle. There was one time I was in Dulles, and I looked really quickly at my ticket, and I looked at the plane departure time, and I thought the departure time was the boarding time.
Excellent. Yeah.
But it was the departure time. So I'm taking my time. I'm just walking along. I get to the gate and there's nobody there. Like no, and I see the little the person at the counter, and they're like, "Oh, are you David?" I say, "Yeah, well, let's go." So that happened once.
So David, but let me ask you something, because I think boarding planes in general brings out anxiety in a way. Like, okay, the seats are assigned, right? Unless you have a particular size luggage, you have no reason to be further up in line rather than further back, right? And yet people are such relentless raging assholes about it.
Okay. So this is, first of all, Ben, that is the truest thing in the world. And I laugh because I recognize that that's the truest thing in the world, but I want to actually unburden myself with the most, my worst, the worst things I've ever done in my life. The thing I would say is, in some sense, I feel most ashamed about. I'm going to tell everybody, and we're not recording this, are we, Ben?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it is,
So,
being broadcast live on YouTube where it will be stored forever. Other than that, no.
Okay, good. Okay, so just like, since it's us, what happened was that when I was a student, when I was young, I was a student in Israel, and I really wanted to come back to the United States where there was heat and food, because the school that I was at was like it was like uncomfortable. Anyway, so I'm real excited to come home. I get the flight to El Al. It's like a 14-hour flight, okay, to New York JFK from Tel Aviv. I get there, and there's a family, a husband and wife, mother and father, and their son, who's like 13 years old, and walking on these crutches. He had, I think, some neurological disorder or something, so it was difficult for him to walk. But me, in my complete insanity to want to get back to the United States, I ran down the gangplank and kicked out the crutch.
By accident,
I mean, of course. I mean, it was completely by accident, but it was like so thoughtless of me. And the dad looks at me and he says, "Do you think you're going to get there sooner?" And I just like just the sense of, I mean, I'm almost I mean, I was able to actually tell everybody the story, so maybe I have gotten over it, but it is a really humiliating experience.
But there is a version of that same story that plays out at every traffic light in America and the world every day, right? It's the people who zoom around you in their cars to get to the red light sooner. And you're kind of like, why? What's the mental logic of needing to be in front of me in order to get to the light's red? You look at it, you know you're going to stop. You're going to stop whether you're in front of me, next to me, or in back of me. And people really feel the urge to be further forward in line. And I'm not immune to that. I don't like it when people do this. And so I will sometimes, I admit it, accelerate a little bit into the red light to make it a little harder for them to zoom around me. And the psychology of that is, it's a very strange psychology. So, David, what was your non-anxiety dream related point?
So 2 questions. Ben, I'm kind of curious. Have you been able to solve any crimes while you're on the train? And Scott, I've got a question for you too.
Well, so I want to say that the crimes on the train have been seriously under control. There have not been murders. The Wi-Fi on some of the trains has been a crime. I have not been able to solve that. Although yesterday's show I thought went pretty well. I did drop out right at the end as we were passing through a certain part of rural Wisconsin. But I have been generally pretty impressed with how the Wi-Fi has worked for In Lieu of Fun. The other problem with my plan of solving crimes on the train is that because of the crime rate has just been pretty low, and also because the dining cars have tended to be at least restricted, and some of them have been closed, the socialization on the train has not been all that much. And I've been in a little cabin, so I've kind of been by myself. So of all the murders that have taken place on the train, I'm probably unaware of most of them. And so, it's not like, the Agatha Christie situation where somebody drops dead in the dining car while sipping port. First of all, the port isn't that good. But secondly, we're not all sitting there at the same time sipping port. Yeah. We're sipping port. It's like sipping port alone, that famous Robert Putnam book. We used to drink port in the dining cars together, but now people don't join port leagues. They just go drink port by themselves. And so that atomization makes train crime solving much harder. I sincerely hope in the future parts of this trip there'll be more crimes, and we can do a live one on In Lieu of Fun. We're hoping for that sort of murder, but it hasn't happened yet.
Had you stolen the baby? Oh, I'm sorry. You did steal the baby.
I did steal
Stealing the baby. You did confess to it. And so in that sense, you have solved a crime.
That's true, although it wasn't on a train.
Oh.
It was just in Minneapolis.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to help you out, Ben, but
yeah, I'm acknowledging the deficiencies of my plan here.
Scott, are you done with your book yet?
No, I got 2 more weeks, and it's very much on my mind. Ben and I have the same editor, and I in 2 weeks I give that to our editor. My editor.
You can say his name.
Editor. Yeah, Alex Starr, who's
really bright guy.
Yeah, unbelievably smart, and I'm so scared. so, he's just a really smart guy.
They call you afternoon and say, "Where's my transcript?"
No, I'm unbelievably proactive, and I try to be a good author. He's extremely smart, and we
should have him on the show.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. He's a very, very sharp, interesting guy.
Yeah. He's crazy smart. Yeah.
All right. So Janine says of herself in the Ask a Question box, I just want to read her. She says, I am an expert at job/school anxiety dreams. So I want to, first of all, say, ask you, Janine, what constitutes expertise, not merely experience with them of the sort that Scott and I have, but you're pulling rank here, and I want to know why you think your expertise is more developed in this area than ours.
Because it's like, I can categorize them. I can give you types. I've been doing it for years. It's related to stuff I'm anxious about in real life. I feel like this is some area that I'm very strong in. I say that as a very person.
Okay, so let's start with categories. What are the major categories of professional and school-related anxiety dreams?
So I think school-related anxiety falls into two major categories, and I have both of them. Number one is, oh no, there's a test, there's a final exam, and I forgot to study for it. And for me, that always happens with subjects that were actually hard or teachers who were evil in real life. Like Dr. Robinson's math class in high school. I've been out of high school for, I have no idea how long now, over a decade, and I'm literally never going to stop having nightmares about Dr. Robinson. I'm for the test, and I don't remember any of the math, and it's terrible. And then
does it get worse as you go on because you remember less and less of the math? Like when you were 19, you remembered a lot of the math, but now it's like, you didn't have like refresher courses on that at the Yale Law School.
No, I think for dream purposes, it stays the same level. It stays at zero knowledge. Even back when I actually knew the stuff in dream purposes, I didn't know any of it. And then the second kind is I'm in college again, and this is the classic. I was going to drop this class. I was shopping classes, but I was going to drop it, and I forgot to actually drop it, so I'm still enrolled, but I didn't go or study all semester. Now it's the final exam, and it's too late to drop, and I'm going to fail everything.
I've never had that one. I've never had the forgot to drop a class dream.
I think maybe you're more organized than the rest of us. I think it's a classic.
There's no question. It is a classic. Nobody ever lost their job for having that dream. Yeah.
But can I ask a question? It seems to me there's a third category of school-related anxiety dream, which is showing up in class with no clothes. I think that's a famous one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I was thinking of more performance anxiety of because my anxieties always revolve around me being a failure. And so
rather than you being revealed as a fraud. Because I think there's a whole category of anxiety dreams that's about people are going to find out that I think of the sort of, having to give a presentation and then realizing you forgot to wear pants.
Yeah.
Is it kind of people are going to figure out that I'm just faking it, that I'm not a real,
that's right.
dental
so I actually did have
genius or whatever.
I did have a dream like that, and I want to preface this with I am not applying to clerk on the Supreme Court, and I have never applied to the Supreme Court, but I nevertheless had a dream that I was interviewing with Elena Kagan for a Supreme Court clerkship, and I was in my pajamas. And she was very upset about me being in my pajamas. Or maybe it was John Roberts, I can't remember, but it was interviewing for
Wait, you're saying Justice Kagan was mad that you were interviewing in your pajamas?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, she's very old-fashioned, so.
Yeah, I think first of all, Justice Kagan, if you're listening, look, some people are going to come to interviews in their pajamas, and it's 2021.
It's so true.
You've just got to get used to that. And look, some people's clothes are hard to distinguish from pajamas. When your clerk interviewees show up in their pajamas, that's just something you're going to have to roll with, Justice Kagan.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wonder if like our kids or or like the people we know that are in high school now, they're going to have anxiety dreams about taking a test on Zoom and then the internet goes out or something.
Or they're going to having a test on Zoom and they're wearing pajama tops as well as pajama bottoms.
Yeah, I do a lot of double takes of, if I'm working in my pajamas, making sure, like, okay, I'm not going to a meeting today. So that's probably is going to be a common 2021 anxiety dream.
Yeah, so it's like that the disparity, someone will notice the disparity between the way the top half of us and the bottom half of us is dressed. I just want to say I had a dog shirt related, not anxiety dream, but anxiety situation the other day. Before I got on the train, I went to a meeting, a Zoom meeting, in a dog shirt, and everyone else in the meeting was wearing a jacket and tie. It had been so long since since anybody had blinked at. But I realized that they were right and I was wrong. This was a meeting involving people who habitually go to meetings in suits and ties. I'm sure they were all wearing shorts, but the top half was appropriately dressed. And here I was dressed like this because I think of this as appropriate. And now maybe I'll have anxiety dreams about that. Okay, so what are the other categories for job-related ones?
Job-related, I think they're less distinct categories because with school you have distinct sort of stages. It's you end the semester, you end the class, and the dream is something's interfering with that or something interfering with you graduating. But with jobs, it's more just like you do your work, and so I think there's less of a specific archetype of a job anxiety dream. So for me, it's just much more like I was supposed to do something and I didn't, and I forgot to email something, and now my boss is mad at me. I've actually had dreams where I'm back in previous jobs, and it's just like that I wanted to leave, but I could never leave, and I'm stuck there now.
The Hotel California dream.
Yeah. And I've even on occasion had anxiety dreams about jobs that I've never had.
That's constructive.
Right. So, I'm not only fucking up my own job, but I'm fucking up your job.
So how does that work? What's a example of an anxiety dream for a job that you've never had? Are they jobs that you would never are they jobs that you would plausibly have, so they're close enough that you could be expected to, or is it like you're a firefighter and you have no idea how to put out the fire?
That's interesting. I wonder if people have dreams like that. That's not what I've had. Mine is actually, this is Ben related. I once, this is a real thing, had a dream that I worked for Lawfare, and I had a bunch of blocks I had a bunch of posts due, and I hadn't written any of them. And Ben was like, "Where's all your work?"
This was before we had met?
No, this was after we had met.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I'm sure I've had a dream like that because I've written up with this other guy a series of posts for Lawfare on DNS hacking, and we haven't finished it. And I think I've actually had that dream.
So I've actually had something weirdly like that situation actually arise, and it was a major recurrent source of anxiety in my life for years. When I was a young reporter and then a young editorial writer, I would write something, and it used to happen on a weekly schedule because I would write weekly for Legal Times. And then when I went to the Post, it happened on a more daily schedule. And I would write something, it would go through the editorial process, and then I would leave the office and I would become convinced that something was wrong in it. And sometimes it was a general conviction that there was a problem with it. And sometimes it was a really specific, I remember sometimes they were really crazy. One time it was a piece I had written for Legal Times about Janet Reno and her attitude to a particular set of things. And I became convinced that Janet Reno didn't actually exist or wasn't really Attorney General. And I would get home and I would be in a kind of frenzy, and I'd need to call the copy desk, and I need to deal with this. And over time, Tamara and I developed what we came to call the one beer test, which was, okay, you're convinced something's wrong, you have a beer. If you're still convinced after one beer that there's a problem, you call the copy desk. And if one beer doesn't make the problem go away, then maybe there's a real problem. But if it's just nerves, then substance-seeking behavior will address it. And the funny thing is, what actually cured me of this particular form of insanity was having a copy editor who was crazier than I was. And a couple years into my presence at the Post, we developed a particular copy editor there used to call me about issues in my copy so energetically that if the phone would ring in a particular period of the day, my kids would just say, it's, I'm going to leave the person's name out, but they would know who it was before as soon as the phone rang, they knew it was my copy desk. And having a copy editor who was that careful with my copy, and I thought the world of this person, made me much less anxious about my copy, because I knew that this person cared. If there was a problem, this person was catching it, and I didn't have to worry about whether Janet Reno existed, because I knew it was going to be checked.
I mean, that's one of the great things about actually working with a co-author. And it's one of the reasons I like working, especially with Ona, like if you really trust your co-author, you get to share the anxiety. So like you're not constantly like if I'm like writing and like Ona says to me, well, I don't think Hugo Grotius exists, then that's like a good check.
Well, he doesn't. He's dead.
Yeah, he is dead.
He's really dead.
It's probably a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, although he was. You're not pro Grotius.
No. I'm very much anti Grotius.
Okay.
We should actually have that's one thing. One day have a Grotius Day.
Grotius Day?
Yeah, actually, because I could talk about Grotius for so long, but he's actually like this enormous figure.
I like Grotius. I'm surprised you're anti-Grotius.
So there's the pro-Grotius people and the anti-Grotius people, and it's vicious. But we will do that. But I would just say I often have dreams about like I'm supposed to give a Grotius lecture or something like that, and then like I didn't write it. So I have job performance things like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I have often had. I've never had the I haven't done the work anxiety dream, but
what's it like to be you?
But I have had the, people discover retroactively that there isn't a single true fact in something that I've written. Like it's all not like there's a mistake, but it's all nonsense kind of dream. That I've had a few times. All right, thank you, Janine. Who else is going to talk? Let's see, who's next on the end? Pauline says, I'm here for anxiety dreams. And we are here for you, Pauline. And Lisa says she can talk about travel anxiety dreams. Pauline, tell us about the anxiety dreams you're here for.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, today is my son's 40th birthday, my older son.
Oh,
happy
congratulations.
Birthday.
Happy birthday.
Of course, it's all about me. So I gave birth. And I can't believe I have a 40-year-old kid.
Yeah, that must mean you're old.
Yes.
Well,
I know.
older than 40, yeah.
Yeah, by some margin.
By a delta, yeah.
Yeah.
I identify as 18, so...
In my mind, I'm 27.
Yeah.
So what are anxiety dreams are you particularly thinking about?
Well, the school ones, I get I haven't done the work. it's like I'm taking this degree thing, and I've been taking it forever, and I should have graduated years ago. And I'm taking like 1 or 2 courses a year, and I can't find the building, and I can't find the classroom. And if I do find the classroom, I'm not paying attention, and I never read the textbooks. I buy the textbooks, but I don't read them. And then the exam
By the way,
comes around.
that's perfect. That is like that's like that is perfect. It's just like an absolute string of like mess ups. Yeah, failure, I guess is right. Yeah.
Why do this, and why haven't I graduated? And why don't I just drop out and put myself out of the misery? So there's that one. There's the I'm always traveling with a bunch of people, which sometimes are my kids when they're young, and sometimes just general random people. And sleeping arrangements is a big deal, and having to get up and drive the car is a big deal. And whether I'm driving myself and I'm nervous about driving, or if I'm in a plane, I'm nervous about the plane. And then there's finding a bathroom. I can never find a bathroom. Like, I'm walking around malls and I'm walking around places, and I just can never find a bathroom. And if I
can you not find the bathroom in your dream?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I have to say,
I've never had that one.
Yeah, I don't mean to one up you, Pauline, but I always find the bathroom in the dream.
Well, I find them, but they're no good. I find them, but they're not private.
So, do you have a sense of what these dreams all mean? Like what is, like, I think in Janine's case, it's pretty obvious that it's, school and job related performance pressure. You haven't been in school for a long time.
Oh, very long time.
You're not. What is the anxiety that these dreams are reflecting?
Oh, probably that my house isn't clean enough. I don't know. But I have a job. It's a very low key job, and I'm probably going to retire within a year. So it's not that. Probably that I'm lazy about cleaning my house, and I'm ashamed to show it to my kids, and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can't imagine it's anything else. And sometimes I'm at my parents' old house where I grew up, and sometimes my parents are there, and sometimes they're not, and just general good stuff like that. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's turn. Thank you, Pauline.
Thank you, Pauline.
Keep sending us birds. I am going to bring in Lisa to talk about travel-related anxiety dreams.
First of all, I just have to thank you guys for making the pandemic a wonderful place for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
that's the goal. We really want people to have a great pandemic.
Yeah, that's right. It's been the best pandemic I've ever lived.
Best pandemic.
So what is interesting is that I actually have a super stressful publishing job, but my dreams that are anxiety provoking are all about traveling. And that's the thing that I really take seriously, is being prepared for traveling. I keep, packing lists for everything. I always am super prepared. I know what my gate number is, blah, 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 blah. But in my dreams, it's like I'm trying to check out of a cruise ship and I can't find the place to check out. Or I'm trying to go to a hotel and I don't know what hotel I'm at, and I'm wandering around the streets of Delhi or something. Or I don't have, my phone. The flight's taking off in 10 minutes and my phone is at home. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. It's like the thing that's important to me, which is traveling, is the thing that I'm fucking up in my dream.
Right. And also that's something that, like, you make all these lists in your real life in part because you're so concerned with these issues. And so it kind of infects and bleeds into these pleasurable things, right?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Do either of you ever have dreams in which you're fighting people or things, or like being attacked by something and you have to fend them off?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but not very often anymore. I used to have it more often. And it was one of those things where also you wouldn't be able to scream in your dream. You're trying to scream that you're hitting the thing. And I would wake up like going,
Because I had a dream the other night, and I'm just going to keep names out of this for reasons that become obvious, that a senior government official, let's just call this person a senior government official, it's actually somebody who's a friend of mine and whom I know, so it's not that weird that person was holding me hostage in a dream. But I and some other people were being held hostage in a dungeon by this particular senior government official, and I had loosened my chains so that I was actually could get away, and this person was holding me and I don't know, some other, I'll keep other names out of it, and I managed to get my hands free and lunged at this person and grabbed him or her by the throat and strangled her, and woke up like literally with my hands up in the air, having just strangled a senior government official in my dream.
Is that going to have policy implications now?
Well, it would have had it been real.
It would have had more than policy implications.
Well, I was going to say, if the person had been in fact holding me in a dungeon, I think I would have had a pretty good self-defense argument. But it wasn't like a performance pressure thing, because it was like an escape room problem.
Right. Well, yeah. No, that's true. I mean, and the thing of being chased. I once had this weird dream that I was going into a tunnel, and I knew there was somebody in the tunnel, but I wasn't sure who it was. And this man came walking out, and I realized it was a ghost, and yeah, it's just, dreams are bizarre. It would be so cool to have somebody, I don't know, I kind of adhere to the theory of this is just your brain trying to weed out stuff. I don't have some kind of Freudian, it's about my mother kind of thing. I think it's just, let's take the garbage out of your brain stuff.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's, but the thing is that the garbage is often, like, not especially clear what the garbage is. So, like, why Janine is still having dreams about high school math,
right?
Is like rather than whatever is going on in her life now. Why Scott is still thinking about his Hebrew grammar teacher from 35 years ago.
Right.
Freud. I mean, one of Freud's theories as to why the manifest content is different than the underlying or the latent content is the fact that your brain doesn't want to wake you up. So, the thought is that if it was something that was like really an immediate concern, it would kind of trigger you.
Yeah, right. Come on, the house is on fire.
I mean, I don't know if that. Obviously, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I would say Ben. So I think so. We both have martial arts backgrounds, and when I did martial arts and sparred a lot, I had so many fight dreams.
That's interesting. I never had martial arts dreams.
Like, I always had.
I have like having to fight my way out of situation dreams.
Wow.
But they're not like I'm a kung fu kind of figure.
No. It would be a situation where somebody was attacking me because defending myself was always on my mind.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. The Reverend Doctor.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
All right.
Great.
Good. Interesting.
Anxious.
You have anxiety dreams about event planning.
Yeah. So one of the things they don't teach you in seminary is that when you're a pastor, you become an event planner for different things.
Right.
And so I'll give a specific example. So a couple of months ago, I was involved in a colleague's ordination. I didn't have to plan it, but I kind of became the de facto like tech person, which I'm not like a tech person, but I'm more of a tech person than anybody else who was going to be there. So I kind of became like the Zoom master, because they had this hybrid event, because it was like some people were in person and some people were were Zoom, and like all these different people have to be involved. And like an ordination is a big deal. It's like someone's wedding, so you don't want to like screw it up, because it's a big long process, and then the person has to go through all these requirements, and then this person had to get ordained during COVID, and so there's all this. So we had all these like safety protocols. I hadn't been like, this was before everybody was vaccinated, so like most people weren't vaccinated, so like you had to worry about social distancing and wearing masks, and then I'm trying to run stuff on Zoom, and so I was having stress dreams like before and after the event, like leading up to the event. I was having these stress.
Were they event planning triggered dreams, or were they actually dreams about event planning gone bad?
I mean, some of it was anticipatory and some of it was like after the fact. I had stress dreams, so it was like before and after. Because before I was thinking of everything that could possibly go wrong, like, oh, people won't show up at the last minute, or the internet will fail, or somebody will, the Zoom won't work, or the recording won't work, or, you'll screw up like a really big part of the ordination, like, the ordination vows, which is kind of like someone's wedding vows, like the really important part that you don't want to like mess up. And then after the fact, I was stressed out about like, oh, well, I hope everybody like thought it was okay. And what if people didn't like feel like it was a good experience? Or like, what if the person didn't like the recording or didn't like how, there was just all these, I just remember it was like very stressful, like before, during, and after. And it caused a lot of stress dreams like before and after, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's that. First of all, I feel for you. That sounds like a very difficult situation, and I would be totally stressed out as well. But I guess my sense always, and I guess we do this with authority figures all the time, is we just imagine that our pastors, our reverends, our clergy, they don't get stressed out, like somehow that's kind of they have like a spiritual protection from this, but like obviously not. They're having messed up dreams at night, just like you are, about Mrs. Sharabi or something.
Yeah, no, we get stressed out too.
Yeah,
your faith leaders get stressed out too.
Yeah.
But
all right, Richard Wattenbarger, I think you've got the last stress dream of the evening.
Oh, no.
This has been great.
So,
yeah, really.
So I have this dream that I've actually been having since I was in my 20s. So back during the Cold War, and it's that then I was in the Soviet Union. I'm stuck somewhere. I don't know the language, and I can't read Cyrillic at all. And I'm like, oh no, next thing I know, I'm going to be in the gulag.
For not being able to read Cyrillic, or for just because of some miscommunication that you won't be able to talk your way out of because you don't speak Russian?
Well, probably that, and the fact that I'm an American and I'm paranoid. This is the 80s. So,
right.
And then, but then after the fall of the Soviet Union, I kept having that dream, and I was like, oh, this is just kind of weird, and I'm stuck, and how do I get out of here? And then in the last few years with Putin, I've actually gone back to having the old dream again. So I don't know. It just changes depending on the circumstances.
Richard, do you do a translation in your head? Like there's the Russian Federation and not the Soviet Union. Like, are you like current in that way?
My dreaming Richard isn't. So dreaming Richard doesn't make the distinction. So
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say I do have language stress dreams sometimes, but they're not that one. They're not. They tend to involve languages I have studied but can't speak. So I've studied Hebrew for many years. I can't speak Hebrew. I've studied Spanish and I can't speak Spanish, and I've studied Russian and I can't speak Russian. And whenever I try to speak any of them, something comes out in an indiscernible melange of all three. And I can kind of make my way in understanding any of the three languages if they're spoken slowly and patronizingly enough, but I can't actually handle myself in any. And I have lots of dreams of trying to explain myself in difficult situations, but like trying to speak in Spanish and it comes out in Russian, or trying to speak in Russian and it comes out in Hebrew. And in fact, that's actually overambitious, because if I can't speak any of them, it won't come out in any of them. I'll remember a verb in one, but the fact that I have studied these languages and yet can't perform in them is a recurrent feature of lots and lots of dreams. But it's not like that I'm stranded in a country and I can't even read the signs. It's that I can read the signs, but nobody can understand me because I've inadequately learned any of these languages, which is, I think, one of my larger regrets in life, that I'm sort of sadly monolingual.
Well, it's probably presaging something. This is probably not a dream, Ben. It's a vision of the future.
It is. I mean, I'm going to, get shot because I can't explain myself in Kazakh. But Richard, your German is good, right?
My German's good. My French and Italian, I can get by.
I can get by only in opera Italian. I can't, if somebody says, to me, can you tell me how to say, help me, Satan, to achieve my ends in Italian, I'm your guy for that, right?
Yeah.
I can even sing it. But if you want, could you please pass the salt, or which way to the, grocery store, I'm totally lost.
I had a friend who learned a lot of operatic German, and he learned German, and he was in Berlin for a year and he when he got there, he would say things to people in using operatic German, and you get the funniest looks.
Well, yeah, I had the same thing. I haven't spoken Hebrew since I was for 35 years, and apparently the language has advanced so much so when we were recruiting somebody, and he was Israeli, and his kids were over, and my kids, when they were younger, they're like, my dad says he can speak Hebrew, Dad, try to speak, because my kids don't speak Hebrew, try to speak to those kids. So I started speaking to them in Hebrew. They just laugh and laugh. I was like, what's so funny? He goes, well, the parents explained to me that you're speaking like Elizabethan English, kind of to them, you're so old fashioned. You're saying thee and thou, the equivalent. So I have that same thing. Yeah.
All right, we are going to leave it there. I hope we can all sleep better, having purged ourselves of the garbage in our brains. We will be back tomorrow, 22 hours and 57 minutes from now, with Scott's very mysterious mystery guest. We don't know if Kate will be stuck in Reykjavik, or whether she'll be on a plane home, or whether she'll be home and with us. But we will be back tomorrow. And until then, Scott?
We can't have fun anymore, but we can have many, many anxiety dreams.
We will see you tomorrow.